Hey, I'm Adam.
And I'm Brian.
Of Everyone Has a Podcast, and you're listening to Pop Goes Your World.
If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes. And while you're there, please leave us a rating and review.
And now it's time for our feature presentation.
I'm Chris McBrien, and the pop culture from Generation X is everything to me.
And I'm Derek Myers, and I'm here to educate Chris on the great pop culture of today's generation.
Episode 343, 1984, The Year in Music. Hey, I'm Chris McBrien along with Derek Myers, and this is Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations. This week, we decided to go back in time to 1984. We're going to take a look at the year in music. For those of you that were there for it, should be one hell of a nostalgic trip down memory lane, I hope. And for those of you that weren't there, hopefully it'll be somewhat of a history lesson. Man, what a year that was. But before we get to our topic this week, Derek, what is new in the world of pop culture for you?
Hey, Chris. Well, after many weeks of not watching very many documentaries, I watched 2 documentaries this week, and that's all I've got to talk about. So cue the music.
You did not.
For 40 days and 40 nights, he watches documentaries. He likes to learn about the world. It's Derek's Documentaries. Derek's Documentaries.
Been a while since we played the song. What documentaries did you watch? 2 of them.
Well, the first one is very, very much in keeping with tonight's theme of music. It was a music documentary, and it was called CFNY, The Spirit of Radio. And if you are from the Greater Toronto Area, as both you and I are, you will know that CFNY is a popular alternative radio channel here. 102.1 are the numbers. And so this documentary is about how they became a radio station and grew from a small, tiny radio station that was literally broadcasting out of a house outside of actual Toronto in one of the suburbs, and then how they basically got into broadcasting into the city proper, and then how they grew as a radio station, how they helped bring the more modern, alternative, new wave, pop punk into the listening ears of the audience in the Greater Toronto area in the 80s, and how they really, help set musical trends in this city and just, educate people about music. And if this is a channel that, if you're familiar with it, if this is a kind of channel that you listen to, or even perhaps still listen to, and this is a kind of music you enjoy, you probably really enjoy this documentary. I've listened to this channel. I didn't really start listening to them until like the early 90s when I was in high school. So this was a real history lesson for me, learning all about their first 15 years of existence. But no, I really liked it. And again, educational. How about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on CFNY?
So I was never a huge listener of it, but the thing that stands out to me about CFNY was they used to have this homegrown contest for like local bands. And if I remember correctly, the Bare Naked Ladies won one year, like when they were just starting out. And I feel like that's where they got their start. I don't know if that's right or not. I believe that's what happened.
I can't say one way or the other. I don't know, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
One of the other things they talk about, like how they the DJs they hired for their station were guys who were DJing in clubs, and so they that was partly how they broke into like the college scene in Toronto. Was they would do like, our DJs are the guys that are spinning the records in these clubs, and so you had that reciprocation where they had these really talented performing DJs who would have on-air personalities, but then also, they would become famous, like Chris Shepherd,
right?
Who was arguably one of the most famous DJs. He started in Toronto on CFNY, and he obviously had a career as a DJ here locally as well. But like in the clubs. But yeah, like they've got some pretty big names that came out of here. So no, it was if that's the kind of music you're into, or you just want to learn about like what it was like to be in broadcasting in the 80s, it was really good. I watched it on YouTube. Here in Canada, you can also see it on TV Ontario, TVO. But I just went to YouTube, typed in CFNY Spirit of Radio, and popped right up. No ads, the whole bit. So
very cool.
If you want, it was just under an hour and a half. So it's a full length movie.
Nice.
And then I watched a second documentary.
Nice.
This one aired this week on CNN, who also makes great documentaries. And this is about Chevy Chase. And it's called "I'm Chevy Chase and You're Not." And it involves,
alluding to his catchphrase from
yes,
the first season of SNL when he did Weekend Update. Very cool.
Weekend Update, yeah. So again, and this is very much a biography of him, but he's interviewed through probably a good half of this documentary is them cutting back to him, like the here and now. Like I think it was shot last year. It came out in 2025, and it's a lot of in-person interviews with people he's worked with over the years, directors, producers, other actors, some of the people that have been just like friendly with him, some famous people. Talks to, obviously his family's interviewed as well. And it's a real no holds barred kind of documentary. Like they don't sugarcoat anything. And I gotta be honest, you and I've talked about this before. While Chevy Chase has been in some great movies and, his characters he's played have been interesting and, all that, I've never really been a big fan of him, like aside from a couple of movies. And I always heard that he was difficult to work with and he's a jerk. And whenever you see or hear him on interviews, he's always like, he just comes across as a guy who's mean. Like you can be funny, you can be direct, and you can be even arrogant, and you can do it in a way where you're not mean. And I always felt that he just came across as being mean for no other reason than he could. And honestly, after I watched this documentary, that's pretty much what everybody said as well. So,
I bet. Yeah.
But it was still interesting. Like, again, I'm not any more or less of a fan now than I was before. I would definitely not call myself a huge fan of his work at all. I'm not, in fact, quite the opposite. I'm not a huge fan of his work. But it was interesting to watch this documentary, especially when they interviewed his family, like his kids. You can get the sense that, like, if that's your dad, you have a different perspective. But everybody else was like, oh, no, he's a, well, the word they're looking for is which is what they keep. I don't know if the censors will let that one through, but.
Oh, no, it'll get beeped.
Yeah. So that was uniformly the word everybody used. So.
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of think of it a little bit differently than you do, because you were saying you're not a big fan of his work. I am actually a big fan of his work, but I'm not a fan of him. And I remember, like, I think it was last year, he came to like the Niagara Falls Comic-Con or something like that. And like some of my friends and family, they were like, oh, are you going to go? I'm like, I have no desire, like none. And like, he was Fletch and Vacation and Caddyshack. Like, I should be wanting to go see this. Spies Like Us. Like, I should want to go see this guy. I had no desire to go see him. Because same thing. I heard he's a jerk. So I was like, no.
Yeah, it really seemed that way.
No.
But again, to each their own, and I mean, they talked about things like his excessive drug use and his alcoholism and spats he had where he was fired or reprimanded in Hollywood. Like, again, they are not sugarcoating this. They're not trying to paint him with this happy brush because he's in his mid to late 80s and his health isn't fantastic. And you're like, are they trying to get this out before he dies and they're trying to like rewrite history? No, no, they're not. They're trying to get it on the record before he goes. Like, yeah. So anyway, it was on CNN. They kept advertising it's available on the CNN app. I don't know if that is accessible outside of the USA, but I find that with the CNN documentaries, they are in my experience, they've been very difficult to watch on demand here in Canada. But I suspect they will air it again. So if this is something you think you might want to watch, and you have cable, check CNN. I would take a look ahead. I'd be surprised if it's not on again in the next couple of weeks.
Very cool. All right. So for me, I went to a hockey tournament this past weekend with my son. He and I went down. My wife and my other son stayed home, and the two of us went down. And then like we went to the hockey tournament, went to the games, whatever. The kids were all playing in the pool and stuff. And then afterward, we go back to the room. We're getting ready to chill out. He put some stupid show on the TV. So I'm like, I busted out my iPad and I put on, I've mentioned this before. I love Pluto TV. Like, I just love it. It's so amazing.
Yep.
So there's me. I'm watching old episodes of Family Feud. And by the way, I'm talking
Richard Dawson.
Yeah, old episodes. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Because I think a lot of people nowadays only know Steve Harvey as the host. And by the way, he sucks as host. I don't care what anyone says. People that know him, oh yeah, he sucks. He's been hosting since 2010. And before him, I don't think people realize how many hosts there's been.
5 or 6 at least.
Of Family Feud. So before Steve Harvey started hosting in 2010, John O'Hurley, you know him? He was Peterman.
Yeah, he was
Seinfeld.
Peterman, and
2006 to 2010, he did it. Richard Karn, he's like the sidekick from Home Improvement. He did it from 2002 to 2006. And before him, when they first sort of brought the show back, after like 11 years, Louis Anderson was the host from 1999 to 2002. He was hands down the worst game show host in the history of game show hosts. He was awful.
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
Awful, like unwatchable bad. But before him was Ray Combs from 1988.
Ray Combs was really good.
He was great. Ray Combs was the best host of Family Feud, I think. And then before him, what got it started, obviously, was Richard Dawson. He did it from 76 to 85, and then he came back in 94. So they had Ray Combs until 94, and then they basically fired Ray Combs, brought Richard Dawson back for a season, and then that was it. But the episode that I was watching, Ray Combs was the host, so it was good. He was the best host. And Richard Dawson was a lech. Remember he was like kissing girls on the mouth and stuff. Oh, jeez. Anyway, so I'm watching this one with Ray Combs, and you could totally tell the episode was from the 80s because one of the questions they ask is they're like, name a rule at school that teenagers break. And the number one answer, smoking.
Wow.
And then another question they asked was, name something people take from restaurants as a souvenir. And the number 2 answer was matches. And the number 1 answer was an ashtray.
Wow.
The 80s. Oh, it was just such a thing. And then the family that wins have these 2 guys that look like linebackers. And they win the fast money. So they pick up Ray Combs and they start throwing him in the air and they're tossing him around like a rag doll. Because Ray Combs was just a little guy. They're just throwing him around. So anyway, I thought it was really funny. I really enjoyed it. And so that's how I spent my time. I was watching, old episodes of Family Feud on Pluto TV. So I would recommend it for anybody. And I also recommend this.
Here's your dad joke of the week.
Derek, my cell phone accidentally took a 10-minute video of my shoes yesterday, and it was actually some pretty good footage.
Survey says terrible joke.
Is there any chance you might have a documentary for us this week?
Derek Stocks, party time, excellent.
Colonel Sanders.
Slow down there, Chris.
Was he finger licking good?
Oh, my.
I can think of 11 reasons not to like that.
2 of which are salt and pepper.
Oh, I heard about this.
Oh my God, I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
But I appreciate the effort.
Back the truck up, hold it.
More than just white dudes.
2 of my favorite things, Star Wars and beer. All right, 1984. What a year. So you and I got talking. We decided to go back. We said, let's go back and look at a particular year in music. That might be interesting. Which one would we do? And we went back and forth. And both of us landed on 1984. It just jumped out to us. So, Derek, maybe you can start us off because, you're a bit more of a music guy than me. What is it that made 1984 such a great year in music? Just as a quick overview, and then we'll get into all the details.
I think, honestly, it's just pull back the curtain a little bit more. I think we were between 84 and 87, and we landed on 84 for a lot of good reasons, which we'll go into. But in both 84 and 87, a lot of what we would say, amazing bands, iconic performers not only put out an album or a great album, but many of them put out arguably their best album. And that's not to say that all of these artists peaked in 84, because many of them went on to have very long and great careers. But I think as we go through this list, we're going to see some of arguably the most popular, the most successful, the most critically acclaimed albums of all time in rock and pop came out in 1984. And when you think of it that way, you almost have to use 1984 as a measuring stick every year after it and be like, okay, was this year as good as 84? No. Okay, let's go to the next year. Was this one? And arguably, I think you're going to have a hard time convincing most people that any year since 84 has had as big an impact on music as 84. I mean, some of the later years, newer years, the last 10 to 15, you get a younger person, you may be able to convince me just because I'm not that familiar with the newer stuff. And in many cases, time will tell. And in this case, we have a lot of years behind us. Time has told. 84 was great.
Oh my God, it was fantastic. So Billboard Top 100 comes out every year. And I started there. I went back and took a look at the Billboard Top 100 from 1984. Number one song was When Doves Cry by Prince. Number two was What's Love Got to Do With It, Tina Turner. Number three, Say, 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 Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson. Number four was Footloose, Kenny Loggins. And number five was Against All Odds, Take a Look at Me Now by Phil Collins. So some other ones on there, Jump by Van Halen, Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes was at number 8, pretty high. Ghostbusters was number 9. I thought Ghostbusters would be higher. Karma Chameleon rounds out the top 10 by Culture Club. I think that came out in 83, if I'm not mistaken, but it was like obviously big in 84. And then when I look down, one that jumps out to me is at number 15 was Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun. I think that should be higher. That should be like in the top 3, I think, from that year. It's just so, you just think of that song, you know, when you think back then. But, oh my God, and then some other, like, there's so many songs when you go down the list. 99 Red Balloons is down at 28. Sunglasses at Night, Corey Hart, Good Canadian, 36. Uptown Girl by Billy Joel, 39. Sister Christian by Night Ranger at 40. That's a good one. Heart of Rock and Roll by Huey Lewis and the News at down at 44. And Legs by ZZ Top at 60. Oh my God, remember with ZZ Top? It was such a well-polished album they came out with Eliminator. Oh my God, it was so good. So for me, though, that's the Billboard Top 100. Back in 1984, I was a bit of a metalhead, got to be honest. So some personal favorites of mine I just wanted to go through. We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. Yep. I just love that song. Even to this day, I just think it's so great. It reached number 21 on the Billboard charts. It was their only top 40 single that they ever had. Another one that stands out to me from that year was Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions. Remember that one? God, that was a good song. And I also really liked Sammy Hagar's I Can't Drive 55 from VOA.
Good tune.
I thought it was just great. So so when we're just thinking about songs from 84, were there any ones that from that list or whatever, or any ones outside of that list that were personal favorites for yourself? What were you listening to in 1984? I don't know. You're pretty young.
Well, I mean, are we talking personal favorites here, or do we want to talk about more like iconic songs? Like how do I tackle this?
You can do both. Like I kind of mentioned some iconic ones, I guess, with the Billboard 100, and then I kind of went into some personals. So yeah, mention a few iconic ones and then some personals.
Yeah, so I mean, I know we're going to sort of talk about some sort of, we'll call them categories for lack of a better term. We're going to talk about like albums, we're going to talk about some videos, we're going to talk about songs.
We'll get into all that.
So I don't want to sort of overlap because some of these things, it's like, you don't have to talk about them in every category. We know they're going to apply to every category. So again, just so that people listening aren't like, how can you not be talking about that? Trust me, we're going to get to that stuff. And one of the things I want to mention, although we are talking about the year 1984 in music, as you mentioned when you're talking about ZZ Top a second ago, a lot of albums that came out in 83 continued to have hits that were released as singles in 84. And harkening back to when we did our drafts, when we did our pop culture drafts, we had rules that it had to be an album that came out in that year. That's not the same rule for this. This discussion, we are talking about a moment in time between January 1st and December 31st, 1984. So yes, there will be some songs on this list that came out in 83 and possibly even 82 that are going to be...
Took them a while to find their legs and really get popular. And that's okay.
Or it's like, this is the third song. This is the fourth song. This is the fifth song off an album that came out the year before. So we're not necessarily saying everything we talk about was from an album that came out in 84, but we are going to talk about why it was, a big song, if not a charting song. It may have even been, most of these were released in 84. So anyway, that being said, you mentioned a few of the ones already. I had on here, I'm like, important rock anthems, Rock You Like a Hurricane and We're Not Going to Take It. I was like, perfect. Chris got that already. One of the big movie songs from the year, Ghostbusters, Ray Parker Jr. Still a fantastic song.
Oh, it's great. And
you can't think of the movie and not think of the song. And like that's definitely one of my favorites from 84. We have, you had already talked about Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Cyndi Lauper, but also Love is a Battlefield by Pat Benatar, both sort of girl power songs at a time when, there weren't a lot of those out there. And you have two very huge female musical performers that are putting out these anthems that continue to stand up the test of time today, continue to get played. You mentioned the 99 Luftballons, the red balloons, the idea that we were accepting enough in 84 that we were more interested in the music and how it was musically performed as art than the fact that it was in a different language. Right. And I mean, you still have that challenge today, but then you get some breakthrough artists. And this was, sort of one of the first mainstream pop top 100 Billboard hits that originally was released. I believe it's German, right?
German,
Nina. Yeah. I mean, they eventually re-recorded an English release because the song was so big and people were like, what are they actually talking about? So it was interesting that this was, for me, this was sort of my first experience with a pop song in the top 40 that was not even in English, but it was still like, I love this song.
And by the way, I'm really glad that they did sort of remix it and they did it in English, because when you listen to the lyrics in that song, so important in 1984, because it's talking about like the war machine and the nuclear war machine and how it's so out of control that seeing a balloon go by triggers everybody to like start the alarms and this is going to go on. And this is like, I thought it's an amazing song. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And then lastly, and we may get back into this, Weird Al Yankovic was really becoming a big thing in the 80s. Eat It was a big hit. Mainstream pop hit. Eat It. I mean, obviously it was a satire parody of Michael Jackson's Beat It, which we'll get into the Michael Jackson of it all in a little bit. But Weird Al is still to this day performing. He's actually coming around to Toronto this summer, and he's still putting out new music. He's continued to put out music since the 80s, and there's nobody that does it like him. There's nobody that does it better. He found a niche, and he just drove into it at full speed and just had a tremendous amount of success with it. And Eat It. It's such a fun song, and it sounds like Beat It. Like the music sounds like the Michael Jackson. So that in itself was a great song. And it's like, he's just lifting the music and making funny lyrics. I'm a big fan of Weird Al, but 1984, he was right there with all these other artists and all this other songs. So yeah, those are just some of the ones that come off the top of my head.
I'm glad you mentioned about how albums that, some debuted in 84 and some didn't, because I want to talk about some that debuted in 84. Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. Oh my
huge album.
So amazing. And again, another sort of interesting lyrics and stuff in some of his songs. When you hear that, like, it's amazing how many Americans think of like Born in the USA. That song is like such a great song all about how America is so great. No, it's not. Listen to those lyrics.
Well, I love it when politicians want to use it in their campaigns. And it's like, did you listen to the lyrics?
Exactly. Private Dancer by Tina Turner was huge, and it was released that year. The Unforgettable Fire was released by U2, and that was big that year. Heartbeat City by the Cars. That thing was massive when it came out. That was a big one because it had like You Might Think and Magic and Drive on it. So that was really big. Like a Virgin by Madonna, man, launched her career. I feel like I have to mention Ride the Lightning by Metallica just for Greg, our good buddy.
Yeah.
Because, he likes them so much. But of course, probably the biggest one, Purple Rain, because that was a sixth album by Prince, but that's the one that just sort of shot him into the stratosphere. So all those albums came out, like they debuted in 84. But if we look at the albums that were the most popular, like the most sales.
Yeah, I want to talk about this. Yeah. So Well, I mean, I'm looking at the charts, and this year was unique in the sense that in the entire calendar year, so that 52 weeks, only 5 different albums were in the number 1 spot. That's crazy.
That is.
Like, it's really speaks to the value, the importance, the genius in many cases of these albums. The fact that these albums came out, they were so good, they were so popular, they were so well liked, and in many cases they pumped out so many hits that they weren't going away. And I mean, do you want to go down the list now?
I just want to jump in.
To it?
Well, no,
Yeah.
we'll go into it now. I want to just go back to something we were talking about last week. We looked at 2025, the year in review, and we were talking about how albums are not as important as they used to be. It's more about singles and things. Right. And this is a perfect example now of a year where albums mattered. Like they really did. That's a perfect example. There was would you say there was 5 albums or 4 albums?
Yeah, only 5 different albums. So I got the list here. So it reached number 1. So for the first, I think this was 15 weeks, and this would have been carrying forward from 83. I didn't look back at 83, but from the 1st of January until April 14th was Thriller, Michael Jackson.
Right, which was released in 82, but still was making money.
Yeah, it just, and again, single after single after single. Then from April 21st till June 23rd was the Footloose movie soundtrack, and we'll talk a little bit about movie soundtracks.
Yep.
Again, multiple singles released, multiple hits. I mean, hell, even just the Footloose song itself was a huge hit. For one great week, the week of June 30th, one of my all-time favorite albums, Sports by Huey Lewis and the News, squeaked into the number 1 spot, well-deserved. And then it was bumped.
Great album.
It's a great album. Yeah, I would argue that's one of the top 10 best albums of the 80s. I mean, that may be a hot take, but it's fantastic.
I'd agree with you.
Yeah. And then for 4 weeks following that, from July 7th to July 28th, Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen, which we just talked about a little bit, and I'm sure we'll come back to again. I think it had like 5 or 6 singles on it. Great album. And then from August 4th through to the end of the year, and I'm sure carrying forward into the next year, is Purple Rain by Prince and the Revolution, movie soundtrack. You want to talk about an important album of the 80s and of 1984, important soundtrack, important pop album. Like Purple Rain is right there. Like it's every bit Purple Rain and Thriller. I mean, Thriller was the number 1 album of the year, but any other year, Purple Rain would have killed whoever else was in the, Yancey always used to say this, that, Prince sort of got overshadowed by Michael Jackson, and he's not necessarily wrong. And we're not belittling Prince in any way, shape, or form, but sometimes timing is everything. And if the Thriller album had come out a year earlier, or if Purple Rain had come out a year later, they wouldn't even be in the same conversation. They would just be, this is the best album here, and this is the best album here. It wouldn't be a competition at all.
So what I also took a look at was album sales for the calendar year. And some of these might surprise you, actually, because it's one thing to be the number 1 album for a week or 2 or a couple of weeks. Sure. But when you look at the whole year, which were the ones that were sort of sustained, in terms of the sales. So the number 1 selling album in 1984 with 30 million copies sold, Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen.
No question. Yep.
Number 2 with 28 million was Legend by Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Wow.
Number 3 was Purple Rain soundtrack, 25 million. Like a Virgin, Madonna, 21 million at number 4.
Yep. Great album.
And a Canadian comes into the top 5.
Yep.
Brian Adams with Reckless had 12 million.
Again.
And then rounding out the top 10 was number 6 was 1984 Van Halen. Number 7, Footloose soundtrack. Number 8 was with 9.5 million was Make It Big by Wham.
Yep.
Private Dancer, number 9. And number 10 was 1100 Bel Air Place by Julio Iglesias.
Wow.
7.5 million sales. So yeah, it's really funny when you kind of look at the whole year, what kind of makes a lot of money is maybe sometimes not what you always think. Moving on to some personal favorite albums.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Go ahead. No. That's what I was going to go to. Go ahead.
Yeah. Some personal favorites. So again, keep in mind, I was a metalhead back in 1984. I was 14 years old and I loved metal. Wasp. I wanted WASP. Wasp came out with an album called Wasp. It had songs like I Want to Be Somebody and Love Machine. I loved it. I like Defenders of the Faith. by Judas Priest back then. Bon Jovi released their first album, which is called Bon Jovi, and the song Runaway was on it. And it got a little bit of success, and it kind of got them cemented before they came back with what Slippery When Wet, a couple years later. But I want to mention Bon Jovi's because it was one of the first cassettes that I had. So, for those of you that are, younger, we used to have like these cassette tapes, and they had this thing called Columbia House. You remember Columbia House?
Oh, do I ever?
And with Columbia House, you got to pick 10 cassettes that you would get, and they would mail you 10 cassettes for a penny. And then all you had to do, the hook was that you had to buy one cassette from them every month for a year. And that was the deal. And so, of course, I went and I did that. And for a penny, I got 10 cassettes. And one of the ones I got was Bon Jovi. So it was one of the first ones I ever got. Also, Love at First Sting by the Scorpions. Loved it, with Bad Boys Running Wild and Rocky Like a Hurricane. And a couple of Canadian albums I want to mention. Walkin' the Razor's Edge by Helix and Metal Queen by Lee Aaron. I was really big into those. But Rat had Out of the Cellar. And Deep Purple that year came out with Perfect Strangers. And then I've got to mention Triumph with Thunder 7 that had songs like Spellbound and Follow Your Heart on it. Like, oh my God. So again, I'm a bit of a metalhead, but those are some of the albums that were personal favorites of mine. So you probably weren't a metalhead, I'm thinking.
No, I mean, yeah. I like rock, I like metal, not to the extent that you did, but I had my phase. I mean, I was more into like the rock albums that were more mainstream. I like bands like Van Halen, Def Leppard, that kind of thing. Right. Some of the ones you spoke of, I know them, I'm aware of them. They would not be my first choice, but I certainly wouldn't change the channel if their songs came on. The only other, albums, personal, I mean, we've spoken about some of these, the reason, obviously like they're great albums. They made the charts, which is why we've already mentioned them. But, Van Halen 1984 was one of the first, albums I ever got. One of the first, I was probably a cassette on that one. So that holds a special place in my heart. Bryan Adams' Reckless, we talked about, again, good Canadian. I owned that on cassette, and then I repurchased it on CD when I got once the format it's changed. The only other one that you didn't mention that I want to bring up was the Duran Duran album Seven and the Ragged Tiger.
Oh yes.
And that had songs like The Reflex, and that was, again, being into new wave and that whole glam rock kind of thing. Well, I guess they wouldn't be glam rock, but they would be definitely new wave. The whole idea of the pretty boy musicians and the synthesizers and everything else that came with it. But the fact that they could actually
that was
sing
Hungry
and
Like the
perform,
Wolf was on there too, right?
Yeah. And no, I remember this. I never actually own. I still to this day don't own this album, but a couple of my friends did. I used to spend. I mentioned before, my cousins are the same age as that I am. I spent summers at their house, and one of my cousins was like a huge music guy. He owned like all the cassettes. So whenever I would go up there, I would like duplicate their 2 tape recorders and record and copy songs I liked. And I remember he had this Seven of the Ragged Tiger, and we listened through it, and it's like, oh my God, this thing is amazing. So always just love that. I mean, I'm a big fan of Duran Duran, and it's. I think we've sort of covered most of the ones that I wanted to talk about from that list.
There were some big concerts that year too, but nothing probably was bigger than the Victory Tour. And this was a concert tour that the Jacksons put together. And the idea was all 6 of the Jackson brothers got together and went on tour, and it was massive. You were probably too young to go to any concerts in 1984, right? Like, you were just too young.
Yeah, I definitely, not. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember when my first concert was, but I would have been pretty young, but it wouldn't have been this one, that's for sure.
My first concert ever happened in 1984, and I went to Guelph, Ontario to see Helix open up for Triumph. And it was, nice. I want to say it was Triumph's very first performance that they did, was the first stop in their Thunder 7 tour. And I loved it. It was just Oh man, I just loved it so much. And then funny enough, things come full circle. It's 2026. And in April, I'm going to see Triumph. And I believe you have tickets for that as well.
Yeah, you're darn right I do.
Going to go see Triumph play again. They're reforming to go out for a couple of dates. And they haven't played together since probably, late 80s when they broke up. Like around 1990 they broke up.
Been a while.
So they got back together and they're going to go on tour. So I'm going to go see them. I'm dragging my wife to go see that one. We'll see how this goes. So that should be interesting.
Chris, remind me. Sorry, you said a Helix open up. Is Helix the band where they're like, "Give me an R"?
Yes.
R-O,
Rock
so,
you.
What you got? Rock. Yeah.
Yes.
What you going to do? Rock you. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that song a lot. I couldn't name anything else they did.
They did a cover of A Foot in Cold Water's "Make Me Do Anything You Want." I don't know if it's a slower song.
Sure.
I mean,
I might know it to hear it, but it doesn't
if I played it for you, you'd be like, "Oh man, I've heard that before."
Okay.
It's quite good. And a Helix's version is actually not bad. It's pretty good. It's almost as good as the original, if not better. Okay, so something you touched base on before was music in the movies. I don't think there's another year in history that had so many great, songs and music in movies as 1984. So some soundtracks. You mentioned Ghostbusters, obviously, with the big song Ghostbusters on it. I'm trying to think of another movie that also is synonymous with a song that's bigger
Survivor,
than Ghostbusters.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, maybe that one. I was thinking of I've Had the Time of My Life with Dirty Dancing, but I still think it's like you mentioned, when you think of Ghostbusters, the movie, you think of the song immediately.
Absolutely, without question.
And yeah, I guess Rocky 3, you kind of think of Eye of the Tiger too. But I still think Ghostbusters is like the number one movie of all time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the fact that the song has the same name as the movie helps.
It really helps.
The Eye of the Tiger is not the name of the Rocky movie. That's Rocky 3. Now, while or like Beverly Hills Cop and Axel F, you think of them, but they're not called the same thing. So you maybe don't make that connection as immediately as you do with Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters song.
Yeah. So Beverly Hills Cop, I'm glad you mentioned, because that soundtrack was so good. Axel F, like you mentioned, but it also had Neutron Dance by the Pointer Sisters. It had The Heat Is On by Glenn Frey.
Oh, I love that song.
Footloose. The Footloose soundtrack is unbelievable. It had Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams. Mm-hmm. You know how much I love that song. It was great.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I know you love it.
Footloose by Kenny Loggins, obviously. Almost Paradise with Mike Reno and Ann Wilson. Holding Out for a Hero, Bonnie Tyler. I'm Free, Heaven Helps the Man by Kenny Loggins. And then there were songs that were featured in the movie that weren't part of the soundtrack. Things like Bang Your Head, Mental Health. Mm-hmm. Hurt So Good.
They're touring. Quiet Riot's touring. I was literally just visiting Niagara Falls, Canada, and there's posters. Coming in March, Quiet Riot. So.
They've reformed? Kevin Dubrow is Kevin Dubrow the singer?
They're coming around, man. Hey, when the money's when they knock on the door and say, "Would you like some money?" We'll give you money if you go touring again. They're like, you know what? We're going to put aside all our personal crap and earn the cash.
Man, So other songs from Footloose I want to mention are "Foreigners," "Waiting for a Girl Like You" was in that as well.
That's a great song.
And of course, "Hurt So Good" by John Mellencamp. When they go to the bar and they go dancing, "Purple Rain" probably the number one. From that year.
No question.
Man, there were some good songs on there. "Let's Go Crazy," "When Doves Cry," "I Would Die for You," "Purple Rain," so good. But I wanted also, because we always mention personal favorites. Two personal favorites I want to mention. One is "Electric Dreams" with my lifelong crush, Virginia Madsen. And it's got the song "Together in Electric Dreams" by Philip Oakley and Giorgio Moroder. I don't know what it is about that song and that soundtrack. I love it. I've always loved that. And I don't think any discussion of 1984 movie music can be complete. We cannot say that we've done good or due diligence if we don't talk about "This Is Spinal Tap."
Yeah.
It was so good. Right. So any personal favorites you have outside the list that we had?
No, I mean, the only other thing that I might want to just add to our discussion, again, I think you covered it all, is the movie The Woman in Red. And it, not a great movie, had a great soundtrack. And Stevie Wonder had the "I Just Called to Say I Love You" on there. It was a massive hit. And like, I want to say that was Stevie's last, like, I don't know if it hit number one, but it definitely hit the top 10. And it was, again, I can remember I liked the song, and I can remember my parents liked the song. And I can remember thinking, this is the first time my parents actually sort of like the same kind of music I like. Obviously, it's a slow song, but yeah, no. So that's the only other one I would add to the list. I think you did a great job of covering it up.
When we look at the Billboard Top 100 from that year, I Just Called to Say I Love You was 25 overall in the year.
Okay.
But where it really made its mark, if we take a look at, you and I always looking at the Oscars. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, so one of the categories at the Oscars is Best Original Song. And 1984 was no different. It had that. But there was also a category called Best Music, Original Song Score.
Score, really? Wow. Okay.
Like Best Music Original. They also had Best Score. But we're talking about Best Music Original Song Score. I was like, what the hell is this? So, Songwriter by Chris Christopherson, The Muppets Take Manhattan by Jeff Moss, and then Purple Rain by Prince, and Purple Rain won that Oscar. Yeah. But then, of course, I don't think they even did that award anymore, before or after. I've never heard of that ever since. But for Best Original Song from that year, how the hell do you pick any one of these to win? They're all so good. So I'm going to go down the list for you. Ghostbusters was nominated. No surprise. Mm-hmm. Let's Hear It for the Boy from Footloose was nominated. Mm-hmm. Footloose, Kenny Loggins from Footloose was nominated. Against All Odds from Phil Collins. That was from
that probably won. Yeah.
No. The winner that year of Best Original Song was the aforementioned I Just Called to Say I Love You.
Oh, wow.
From The Woman in Red by Stevie Wonder. Wow. Won Best Original Song at the Oscars. Crazy.
It was a big song. It was huge. It was everywhere. I mean, it even had that whole Cosby Show episode. I mean, aside from the Bill Cosby of it all, which was a great episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That was Jammin' on the One. Jammin' on the One. I say that to my kids all the time. We'll play cards, and I'll be like, Jammin' on the One. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about, Dad? Never mind. It's an old thing. Baby. And then, of course, Claire was singing it. That was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to mention the Grammys. So the Grammys are interesting because they don't always capture the most popular stuff of the year.
So hang on, I want to stop you. Oh, yeah. Are we talking about the Grammys that were awarded in 85 about the music in 84?
That's correct.
Okay, just want to be clear on that.
Yeah, same as the Oscars. When I talk about the Oscars from 84, the Oscars were in like February of 85, but they're about 84. So same thing with the Grammys. So Album of the Year for the Grammys that year nominated Private Dancer, Tina Turner, Born in the USA by Springsteen, Purple Rain, She's So Unusual by Cyndi Lauper. But the Album of the Year went to Can't Slow Down by Lionel Richie. Interesting. Now, he had some songs.
What songs were on that? Was that like Dancing on the Ceiling?
No, I don't think Dancing with the Ceiling. I think that was after. Or Hello was
All
on
Night
there,
Long?
and All Night Long were both on there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that song was huge.
Yeah. And Song of the Year, Time After Time, Cyndi Lauper was nominated. I Just Called to Say I Love You, Stevie Wonder. Hello by Lionel Richie, Against All Odds, Phil Collins. But the winner was Tina Turner's What's Love Got to Do with It?
Yeah, I mean, again, moment in time. You got to remember when in 1984, when Tina Turner released this album, it was considered a huge comeback.
Yeah,
like that her career had ended, and it was, and then she came back with this album, and there was a lot of, personal stuff in there about, just reclaiming her life and being a strong woman, as we've talked about for some of these other female artists, and like it blew people's socks off. And What's Love Got to Do with It was a massive hit, and it had huge radio play. And you know what this sort of, I'm just thinking of this in real time. It reminds me of the way that Alanis Morissette, Jagged's Little Pill was received 10 years later, where they were just like, oh my God, like the angst in this woman, and look, and she's reclaimed her life, and it's like, boom, like reinventing herself. And like, it was like that, but 10 years earlier, where people were like, oh my God, Tina Turner. And like, so it doesn't surprise me that it got this award. Because again, a lot of times these awards are voted on by people with long memories. You usually get a lot of older people. Mm-hmm. And I think that there was the not that she wasn't deserving, but I'm guessing there was a lot of people that felt like she triumphed over adversity. And so in addition to being great music, it was a great story. And I'm guessing that played into it at least a little bit. But yeah, that's a solid list. Like, if any of them had won, you wouldn't be disappointed.
No, absolutely. Best New Artist at the Grammys that year. Nominees: Sheila E., Frankie Goes to Hollywood, the Judds. I didn't think they started that 1984.
Yeah, I
feel
didn't
like
either.
They were later. Corey Hart from Canada, but the winner was Cyndi Lauper. She was the Best New Artist.
It's a good pick.
Yeah, I think so too. And then the last thing I want to wrap things up with, if you're cool with it, is music videos.
I was going to say, we can't stop this conversation without videos.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were huge in 1984. And I can't think of another year that had so many amazing music videos. You mentioned 1987 before. There were some good videos from that year too. We have to maybe explore that year at some point. But
yeah, we'll revisit that down the road.
1984, is there any, not to put you on the spot, but
no, I've got a list. Okay.
What music videos
let me
jump
take the
out to
lead
you?
for this.
And then,
Again,
when you're
yep.
done, I have the list, MTV's top 20 music videos ranked by MTV. I have the list. Okay, so you give me some of your favorites, and then
these
we'll go
were ones that were popular in '84.
Okay.
I do not believe that every one of these songs were on albums that were released in '84,
and that doesn't matter. Yeah.
No. So we've got arguably one of the most iconic videos of all time, "Take on Me" by a-ha, where it's the drawing and the sketching, and then it was back and forth. It was the rotoscoping, and then iconic. When you talk about music videos from the '80s, you ask 10 people, 9 of them are going to say this if they don't say something by Michael Jackson, which we'll get to in a second. Great song, great video, holds up. It is synonymous in pop culture. Like synonymous is the wrong word, but it holds a very important place in pop culture. People know it, even if they don't really know it. They know it. Then we talk about Michael Jackson. So we haven't really talked about the powerhouse of Thriller, other than it was released 2 years earlier and was still putting out massive hits. So you continue to have songs coming out from Thriller, and you had all the videos that went with it. Some from '83, some came out in '84, and you may have to keep me honest on this depending on when they came out. But I mean, the Billie Jean video was considered iconic, and then the Thriller itself, which I believe came out in '84. Do you happen to know that? Do you want to fact check me in real time there?
Ooh, I'm not sure.
And I mean, the thing with Michael Jackson, with this album, and then obviously these albums that came after this, is he really understood the power of the music video, and he treated it like a movie. And it wasn't just a band of guys jumping around like idiots with guitars and tight pants just trying to put something on MTV. Like, he really understood, if I do this right, I'm going to separate myself from the pack. And man, oh man, did he ever. And, he brought on huge directors and producers and a makeup artist to it literally looked like and was a mini movie. And so, I mean, Michael Jackson just dominated the music videos in the 80s, but the stuff that came off of Thriller, whether it was released in '83, '84, amazing. And then you had mentioned the Cars earlier, how they put out an album. Again, they were one of the first bands to play with computer generated imaging and online on-screen animation. And so while by today's standards, it looks a little goofy, it was considered like a pioneer for what it was and groundbreaking in many senses. And the fact that, the songs were good too really helped. And there was a woman in bathtub. I mean, obviously covered tastefully with bubbles, but that doesn't hurt either. And then lastly, I want to say, some artists use the music video to, I don't want to say generate controversy, but to sort of make a statement that I can't believe they would have been unaware that it was going to generate controversy. So you mentioned one of the new artists that was nominated was Frankie Goes to Hollywood. And their song Relax, which is one of my top 10 all-time favorite songs. Love it, love it, love it.
It is a great song.
It had 2 different music videos, which I didn't know until many years later. And the one that I was familiar with, the one that they played on TV, has the band in a dark room. There's a smoke machine going, and there's lasers, and they're putting their hands through the lasers to cut the lasers and stuff. And they're just singing away. And it's an interesting visual. The lasers are bright colors, and it's fine. And the song is great. It's a very tame and safe video. What I learned later was they also made a video that basically took place at a gay sex club, which is more in keeping with the lyrics of the song and the intent of what the song was really about. And when they played it in Britain, they were like, not a chance. This is not getting out there at all. And I don't think I saw that video until like the early 2000s, I think, when I was like, oh my God, this is one of my favorite songs. How did I not know they had 2 videos? And then I did a little homework. I was like, oh, that. So they did the one they wanted. And then they're like, no, now we got to do another one for, quote, conservative mainstream TV. So you had that. And then a little along the same vein is the band Queen. They put out the song "I Want to Break Free." Mm-hmm. Great song, love it. I mean, we're both big Queen fans.
Yes.
In this video, at the beginning, the 4 members of the band dress up as a typical British household, and of course, a typical British household has a mom, and so of course you've got 2 of the members of the band dressed in drag, pretending to be the women, while they're singing away and performing. Well, oh my God, in 1984, you can't put that on mainstream TV. People lost their minds. And they did not do a second video. They just fought to have that one stay on the air. But if I remember correctly at the time, the BBC was like, we will not air this filth. It's disgusting. I mean, in America and Canada, got played no problem. But so you have, a couple of artists that were making a statement through music and extended that to making a statement through video. So, I mean, those weren't the only ones, but those were certainly 2 of the more popular artists that had the power and the clout, and more importantly, had the songs, the hit songs that you were like, I love this song. Where's the video? Eventually, they had to show you something. So this is what you got. So what about you? What else? I mean, I sort of hit the big ones, but what other videos you want to talk about?
Well, I want to go down this list that was put out by MTV. And they put out the top 20 music videos in 1984. They ranked them. But I'm really questioning this list because at number 13 was Rock Me Tonight by Billy Squier.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember
I know the song, but I don't know what the video is.
This video was the worst music video ever. He basically just destroyed his career with this video. It was him jumping around this room with a bed in it. And he was dancing, but he wasn't even dancing. He was like hopping around the room. It's like, imagine, if you will, like if his feet were like taped together. So his legs and his feet are like taped together, and he's just hopping around the room. That's what he did for the whole video. It was just terrible.
Dumb.
It was awful. But
all
anyway,
right, read me the list. Top 10 at least.
I'm going to do the top 10. I'm going to start at number 10 and then work my way to number 1. So the number 10 video, and I'm actually shocked at the number of these videos that they put in here that are top videos that are really just performance videos. Just the band or the singer just singing,
Boring.
I know the majority of these are. So number 10 is The Heart of Rock and Roll by Huey Lewis in the News.
It's not a bad one.
Yep. Sister Christian by Night Ranger is number 9. I think it was just them playing with a black background. Number 8, David Bowie's Blue Jean. I think it was just him singing it too.
I don't remember. Yeah, I'd have to look it up.
Number 7, When Doves Cry by Prince. Now that one was a little bit more conceptual. He was in a bathtub.
Yeah.
Remember? And then he comes out
But it kept
of the
cutting back
bathtub.
to scenes from the movie too,
It did. Intercut with scenes from the movie. Number 6 was The Cars Drive. I think it was just, what kind of a music?
That's just a guy. It was black and white. He's sitting on the chair backwards and the camera's slowly spinning around him. It was a boring video for a boring song.
And it wasn't even the lead singer, Rick Ocasek. It was like the drummer that was singing the song, or the bass player or whatever. So, yeah. Number 5 was You Might Think by the Cars. That is the one
which we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, I remember showing my older son when he was really little. I showed him the video. We would watch it. He really liked it because there was like the bug. Let's watch the bug video.
Yeah.
The
It's Rick Ocasek on that face of the fly. Yeah.
Number 4 was Against All Odds by Phil Collins. Again, I think it was just him singing it.
I think it's just his face, and it cut in like there was like a red and a blue water streaming over with the color, and then it kept cutting into scenes from the movie.
Yeah.
Boring.
Footloose was number 3. Just movie scenes, I'm sure.
And that was all just movie scenes, yeah.
Number 2, I agree with a bit, with Jump Van Halen. Now, that was performance. It was them on stage, but it was pretty memorable because they were like jumping around and like playing the guitar.
And it helped sell their brand, right? Like up till then, you may not, I mean, it was their, if I remember, their 6th album, I believe. But to the MTV generation who didn't know them, this was their coming out party. Here you go. This is who we are. And they're like, oh my God, look at this guy. He was the front man for this band.
And the number 1 video, this is so odd because, again, it's a performance video. It's just a guy singing with a black backdrop, and it's a slow song, was Missing You by John Waite.
Wow.
Interesting, eh? Wow. So I'm not sure like why they ranked them like that. For me, when I'm thinking about music videos, if I'm making, my pick, I'm thinking of ZZ Top. ZZ Top put out
Legs?
Legs, Sharp Dressed Man, even Gimme Our Lovin'. It was so funny because they were so prominent in the video. These guys with two of them at least with the long beards and the fuzzy guitars, they'd spin around, but they were always like sort of the vehicle that had like the young guy get the girl. Like it was like they were always kind of there and they made it happen, and then they had this cool car but their videos were really popular. Like I would say that they really polished up their music, and they put out a very, very well produced album that year, but they also really understood videos, and they put together some because they were like a Southern rock band. It was like, who are these guys? And they put out some great videos that year. So when I think of that year, I think of videos like When Doves Cry by Prince and ZZ Top. That's what comes to mind for me.
One of the things I liked about the ZZ Top videos is that, and this isn't an original thought. I watched it on a documentary where they were saying the band, while they knew that they needed to do videos, immediately understood that if they're going to do these little movies, it can't be about them. Like they're not movie star pretty. They're musicians, and they knew that. So they're like, while they needed to be in the video because they wanted their faces in the video, they're the performers, they were smart enough to sort of conceptualize and go, we're going to be off to the side doing this.
Right.
And then, like you said, here's a young man and a young woman, and they're going to do things that young men and young women do, and we're going to create this whole storyline. And the band was just sort of off to the side, doing their thing in a way that made sense to the little story that was happening in the 3.5 minutes. And I think that was a smart choice. It's too many performers want to, I got a hit song, I get to star in my own little 4-minute movie. No, you're not an actor. And in many cases, you probably shouldn't be in this. Like, hire an actor.
Exactly. Okay. So any last thoughts on 1984? Hell of a year.
So I was gonna do this at the top, but I decided to save it till the end. So I found an article when I was looking online doing the homework, and it was from Rolling Stone magazine, and it was called 100 Best Singles of 1984, Pop's Greatest Year. And I just want to read you the first couple of sentences from this.
Sure.
And it says, from Prince to Madonna to Michael Jackson to Bruce Springsteen to Cyndi Lauper, 1984 was the year that pop stood tallest. New wave, R&B, hip-hop, masquerade hard rock, and Weird Al Yankovic all crossed paths on the charts, while a post-Billie Jean MTV brought them into your living room. And that's perfect. Like, that's it. That's what we've been talking about for an hour. And Rolling Stone magazine agrees with us.
Great way to kind of wrap it all up, because that's exactly what it was all about. So I thought that was great. All right. So what do you say on that note that we have some
Fun with Caveman?
It would not be complete for us to do a whole episode on music if we didn't play this game.
Ladies and gentlemen, name that tune.
So we are going to play Name That Tune, but the way that this is going to work is I want you to guess the song titles of songs just based on one line from the lyrics.
Oh, I love these. Oh, I love these so much.
And the thing with these is like some of them are super easy, right? But some song lyrics are hard because when you hear them out of context, when they're not sung with a certain inflection, you're like, what the hell? But I think you're going to do very, very well. So we're going to start with some really easy ones, okay?
Go for it.
The first one, Maybe I'm Just Like My Father, Too Bold.
That's When Doves Cry by Prince.
Congratulations. Yes, it is. Okay, number 2, I Get Up and Nothing Gets Me Down.
That's Jump by Van Halen.
All right, another popular song from this year, You Put the Boom Boom Into My Heart.
It's Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham.
Yes. Very good.
And let me tell you, Chris, you put the boom boom in my heart.
I know. Thank you very much. Okay. There's no comfort in the truth. Pain is all you'll find.
Oh, that sounds familiar, but you know what? I'm not going to get it. I got to pass.
There's no comfort in the truth.
Oh, that's Careless Whispers.
Yes, it is. All right. Again,
And you just asked me a way of song. Damn.
Yeah, you got to hear it in the context.
Question.
Okay. You're playing so cool, obeying every rule. You're playing so cool. You know.
That doesn't even sound familiar.
You're playing so cool, obeying.
Oh, is that
every
Footloose?
rule. It's Footloose. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. How could I just let you walk away? Just leave you without a trace?
Well, that's Against All Odds by Phil Collins.
Yes, it is. Very good. You're so fine, and you're mine.
Oh man, it's so vague. I mean, it could be anything. You're so fine.
It's not. By the way, it's not.
It sounds like
it's
Great
not
Balls of Fire.
I thought you were going to say it sounds like "Hey Mickey," by Tony Basil.
No,
you're so fine.
I don't know.
Mine. You're so fine, and you're mine, like a virgin by Madonna. All right, you think you're in the movies, and everything's so deep.
Oh, that's the Cars. That's you might think.
Yes. Very good. All right. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me.
That's Cyndi Lauper, Time After Time.
Yes. Once upon a time, I was falling in love. Now I'm only falling apart.
That's Total Eclipse of the Heart, Bonnie Tyler.
Yes. not to be confused with the Dan Band version of that. Remember when they sang that?
Yeah, in old school.
Okay, take your passion and make it happen.
Is that I want to say Fame, but no, it was it's Irene Cara though, isn't it? No.
Oh yes, you're so
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Take your passion.
Yeah, isn't that Fame?
Make it happen. It's Flashdance. What a feeling.
Flashdance.
Yes.
Oh, I knew it's that's yeah. Oh, sorry, that was Irene Cara though, right?
It was Irene Cara. You're correct. Okay, next one. I live among the creatures of the night.
Oh, that's Laura Branigan. Was it Self-Control?
Yes.
That one's got a very interesting video. It's very like noir, erotica. It's bizarre.
Okay, last one. Sometimes on a Friday, I'll stop by and have a few drinks after she put her kids to bed.
Put her kids to bed. Yeah, that's Bruce Springsteen. That's Glory Days.
Yes, very good. Very good. See, you did pretty good on those.
Yeah.
Some of them were hard.
I mean, I like doing those. Those are pretty good. I mean, you're absolutely right, though. Sometimes it's like without the music, out of context, you're like, I don't know. And as soon as you hear one note, you're like, oh, of course it's that.
Okay, so next time out, we're going to watch a movie. Because we're going to go back to doing a movie review. So it's over to me to nominate a film here. So we were just doing 1984. I'd like to go ahead 2 years. And I want to do 1986, and we're going to do Platoon. It's readily available.
I've never seen it.
It's readily available on the streamers. You've never seen Platoon. I think we've mentioned this before, and I think that's why I made note of it. Because you were like,
and it wasn't previously available, and you're like, and then when it became available, you're like, we're going to watch this.
Yeah. So it is, well, it'll be interesting to see what your take is on this. It's from 1986. Okay. Oliver Stone directed Platoon. So Oliver Stone directs it. It's with Charlie Sheen. There's like a lot of things going against this film going into it. It's from 1986. It's a long time ago. It won Best Picture in 1986, so it had that going for it. But I want you to watch about the Vietnam War. And we'll just, we'll see what we like. We'll see what we like it. So if you like Platoon, you want to come back next episode next week, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to review that movie. And until then, I'm Chris McBrien on behalf of myself and Derek Myers, and of course our producer Sloth. We all want to say thank you very much for taking the time to listen to Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations.
Thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World. You can contact Chris and Derek at popgoesyourworld.com. Please take a minute and review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you download and listen to the show.